Hello everybody, North Texas Trapper here. Just going to give you a review on some traps today. Just the standard stuff that you're going to need to set up your own line. I'm going to go over a little bit of the differences that you're going to find from off-the-shelf traps, and then a few modifications that I've made along the way that might help you out. So we'll get started real quick so we don't take up too much time. This right here is a Bridger number 1.5 standard closed jaw trap. It's 2-coiled on the bottom. You can see both springs. Standard base plate on these. The chain attaches basically a J-hook to the side. Just got a standard length of factory chain. This is a little bit beefed up on the Bridgers and compared to the Victors or Dukes. Pretty heavy duty swivel on the end of it, crunch proof swivel. Jaws, nothing different about those. Those are standard. A lot of people like to bubble tip them just in case they catch something bigger that it can't power out and pull those jaws out of that base plate. These are pretty easy to set. I like to use them for fox traps. I make a lot of dirt holes. They're a good coon trap as well. Pocket sets if you want to use them. This particular one, it has a pit pan on it, and with a dog that has a little dimple on it, and that comes along with the pit pan system. Now these pan systems right here, they basically allow it to, and this one I need to mess with a little bit, but they basically allow this thing to set more level straight out of the box. Now I haven't done any modifications to this thing at all, but I do need to mess with it a little bit because this one's wanting to slip off of the pan is wanting to slip off the dog, and I might have tightened that pan down too tight, but they're a hard hitting trap. I like the pit pan system normally. On the ones that I don't have the pit pan system, I will have a night latch set up, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But it's a pretty good trap. This one, it's just like I said, still need to work on it because when it drops, it wants to go off on me, and it doesn't nobody need that on the line throwing dirt up in their face. So that's that. The next thing I'll move to is one that I have slightly modified. It's the same size of trap. This one, it also has the same type of pan, but I've added a few things to it. I've dyed it. Number one, I've dyed the trap, and that helps. I've got these adjusted right, so there shouldn't be any problem with setting this one. And now you can see it's pretty straight when you go in there. Nice and level, so it'll set level down in the trench that you use. Some people like to put the foam underneath there. Some people like to use basically pillow stuffing. There's underalls. There's all kind of different things like that. But anyhow, that's what you're looking for on that. This Bridger 1.5 closed jaw. This one's still standard, just like I said, except for now that I've shortened the chain. And what was required in the state I was trapping was that you needed, if you run over 8 inches of chain, you needed to have a shock spring. So what I had done is shorten this thing up, and I just put 3 or 4 links in there, 5 in this case. Then I put an MB. This right here is an MB crunch proof swivel, and those are pretty easy to attach in line. The next thing I put, and I probably should have put another ring in between them, was I put a pit spring in the middle of there. I think they're called pit 78s, and they're shock spring, and that'll eliminate a lot of, when that animal's jumping around, it'll eliminate a lot of the pressure off their foot because you got that spring in line. So I've got a couple of the MBs surrounding that thing, so I don't get any kinks off of it. And I put your standard quick link 3/8 inch quick link on the end of it. And then I have a Berkshire 18 inch or 12 inch cable stake, and this would be the standard end for one of those cable stakes. What you do is you just get your driver. The driver's got a point on the end that goes down in this hole, and you sink that thing in the ground all the way up. I like to do it all the way up to my D-ring, and then you just pull it a little bit, and what will happen is this thing will turn flat in the ground, and there's nothing going to pull that out. That's pretty strong. Now, in hard ground anyway. Sometimes you got to test it if you're in sandy soil. But anyway, that's another 1.5, just set up a little bit differently. The next one I'll go to, slightly bigger. This one is a Bridger 1.65. And if you'll notice right off the bat, it's got a little bit different. It doesn't have that pit pan. It's got your standard dog. And what I've done on the dog, if you can see, and I'm trying to move it around here, is I've filed a little bit right on here. It's got a couple of notches, like 2 steps, like you're coming down the steps from the top of this thing. And what that does is that allows it to be put on a hair trigger. If you see how much that is not very much on the edge of that. What you do is you set that pan level and you tighten it up to get your appropriate amount of pan tension on there. So when the animal does put a good amount of weight on the back of it, whatever you've chosen, 2, 3 pounds, whatever it is, this is a fox trap too, then that pan will fall at the appropriate height, and you will get next to no movement before you are going to have a trap firing on him. So on this trap, a little bit different. Got the offset jaws, and unfortunately that kind of thing has a little bit of a tendency that comes sharp from the factory, so you might have to file on them a little bit, file them down to keep them from cutting into your animal. That happens some of the time. It doesn't cut them very deep, but it's something you want to look out for. So again, standard 2-coil base plate with the standard attachment on the bottom of it. In this case, I've added this is the standard trap swivel that came on it, and then I came the 5 inches, put an MB crunch proof on that end. Then again, put the shock spring, another MB. But in this case, and this is a lot to bury in the ground, but in this case I put a double stake swivel on there. Now you probably don't need any more than just a single stake if you're targeting fox, but you might run into that situation where you add another stake in there and it'll help it to stay secure in the ground. I've done it before in like semi-muddy soil, and it worked real good for me, but usually you don't need but one, and nothing's going to hurt putting it in there, just the one for a fox trap. Setting this thing, pretty easy still. 2-coil. Put it underneath there. I'm going to raise my pan up pretty high to start with. So I've got it high right now, but then I'll come down to my night latch, and once my night latch clicked in, if you heard it there, it just gave a little click. So now you have your jaws and you have your pan level, and that's what you're looking for when you're bedding the trap. Moving on to the next thing. We'll go a little bit bigger this next time, and what I've got here is I've attached this one to a length of chain, and this is your fox drag, your standard fox drag that you'll get. So this one is a number 2. Number 2, and if you can see there, that's got quite a bit of play, you know. So I have it set up pretty light, but this one has not been modified on the base plate. It's still a 2-coil, but it's just a Bridger number 2 now. Got the MB crunch proof swivel on the end. I put a couple 3/8 inch quick links because I wanted to be able to take the drag off or put a Berkshire stake on the end of it. Then you got your pit pan, another swivel, and Got some pretty heavy duty chain there. You probably don't need that for fox, maybe for coyote. I think you'd be all right. You know, you're not gonna have them run off with that stuff that easy. But then I typically just set these things and I'll throw them up in the bushes behind the trap and go ahead and pre-hook them. That makes it pretty easy. You already have the animal waiting on you in the morning. Now this one, I don't have the thing night latched, but with a file you can do that pretty easily. You can see the jaw spread. I don't know how to do that. Basically my hand right here, my hand is almost as big as this trap going in it. They hit good, they hold good. These are a little bit dirty as it just popped up in my face, but good trap to work with. Next up, going a little bit larger in size, I have a Bridger number 3. It's getting pretty good size right now, and this is what a lot of people like to run for coyotes. They're pretty heavy duty. No offset on this thing. 2 coil, still attached to the center. A lot of people want to do modifications to the base plate on there and beef it up, add another layer, add a center swivel, so that when that animal is pulling, it's pulling right from the center of the trap and not putting a lot of pressure on this little bitty metal device right here. I haven't targeted yotes a whole lot, but that would be one of the components that's known to break. And if you got a good strong one, he can pull those out. He can power out of those things. A lot of the yotes go for, they're heavier, a lot stronger dogs. When you get in areas of good sources, down here in Texas, we don't have a lot of big ones. I mean, they're hefty enough, but this is pretty standard for down here. I've made the night latch on this. I think you can see it. You should be able to see that step down on there by me moving this around. There you go. Anyhow, that helps out, especially if you're working with them in the dark. It's a pretty good, easy setting trap. 2 coils. Most of them are when they're 2 coils. You start getting into that 4 coil mess, it gets a little heavy. You'll hear this thing click in with the night latch, and it should step down onto that little notch that I made. Here we go. Alright, there's the click. So you'll notice the dog's bent a little bit. I don't see any need to replace that. Anyway, hard hitting trap, flat, again, main point. And then for this one, I got a little bit thinner chain. I had just used some stuff from Walmart just to show you that you can do it for versatility. I connected them with these little couplings right here. Just squeezed them together. A lot of people don't want to use those, but you can weld them if you want. I haven't had a lot of trouble. Swivel. Got my pit spring. Then 3/8 inch quick link. Got another little standard trap swivel. And then I go on up. I had the swivel at the base, so a lot of opportunities for them not to mess up. Now on the end of this thing, it gets a little bit more heavy duty, and I'll bury the whole thing. I'll bury this whole thing deep, and if I'm in the field or something like that, that way when they take off, this is called a saber tooth drag. You know, Clint Locklear used to make them. Now they're on sale at a bunch of the supply houses, but they do not get far at all when you hook one of these on the end of it, especially if you're going through the woods. But it'll hook up in open field, no problem. That's a good tool for the shed. Trapper's got to have a lot of things in order to catch plenty of animals. I want to move on to a little bit more, just a little bit more upgrade style, right? So this is an MB550. You see it says 550. This is the offset version. They make a standard closed set version. On the ends of them, they have, as it went through, they went ahead and bubble tipped them. So that's what I've been talking about there. This is a 4-coil trap, so it's going to be pretty tough to set. I typically just set them with my feet, but you can set them with your hands if you got gloves. Here's the beefed up base plate, like I was talking about, with the center D-ring, and then an MB crunch proof swivel right behind it. Just a little ways down, I just got a few links, another MB crunch proof swivel, the pit spring, and then for this one I have a longer, this should be what, a 24 inch or so cable with a soft earth Berkshire on the end of it. So the soft earth ones, they just mean that it's a little bit wider this way. And so when you pound that thing down in the ground, maybe it'll get more bite. But let's see if I can set this thing real quick for you without the use of my feet. This is a heavy hitting trap, and a lot of people praise it for the coyote. It's got a real thick dog on it. This one, I don't even think I've cleaned it from the last year. You just heard it sort of step down on there. Now it's not even close to being where it needs to be, but it'll have another step down right on the end of it. So we're gonna keep going, and there'll be one right on the edge of this thing. It's a hard hitting trap, so I'm just gonna go slow. There'll be next to no room under this pan when I'm done, so you hardly don't, there you go, you don't hardly need anything up underneath there when you're burying it, because you don't have a lot of spot for any rocks or anything to get underneath that pan, not like you do on the others. But we put something underneath there anyway, and that helps out. Like I said, 4-coil MB550s. Good trap. It's wider on the levers there, so it's less impact on the paws. There's no sharp edges, and so that basically takes the place of any laminations that you would have added onto those other traps. The laminations being that you weld metal on there. Anyway, 4 coils, hitting real good. Scares me a little bit when I get close. I wouldn't want to wear one of them, but that's that. Moving on, got a couple of these. This last minute I want to show you real quick. This is a Duke dog proof trap. Standard comes with the a little bit of chain, a little bit of the old dog chain, swing chain, whatever you want to call it. Got a little hook there, swivels around this little shaft. Just stick that in the ground wherever you want, and that'll hold that where you need to be. Hold it in the direction that you want. I've attached it to the Berkshire cable stake with the standard end. I think these are like $15 a dozen, or something like that, for the pre-made stakes. Anyhow, pretty easy to set. This will be the dog right here. You just compress this on, and there's the spring right inside there. It's not too heavy, so you just compress it down. You can use your dog as assistance. What I like to do, push it in there. You'll see where I'm going to hook it. I'm going to pull that dog down, pull that dog inside the thing down, and hook it on that latch. You see where it hooked into right there? And now, when they reach inside that thing, and you can't see it very good, but when they do reach inside there, there's a little lever there. And once they pull that lever up, this right here is going to go down, and that's going to release that, and it'll have an action that's like that, and it'll hold their paw. This right there will hold that animal's paw up next to the side of that thing. They're typically just sitting out there waiting on you when they come up. They don't have any big cuts or bruises. They just sit down and wait. They're plenty comfortable. They just have a little indentation in their paw, not very deep at all. So ain't gonna hurt probably if you release them. If you're releasing smalls and let them get bigger. There's the next one. This is the Freedom brand. It's a little different. It's got a little cam system in this one, a rocking cam system down here on the bottom, and that allows you basically, got this flat back plate. They figured it was easier for people to push on a flat back plate than it would be wires, and so when you push on that back plate, it's just going to connect in up underneath here, like so. Sometimes you'll get one that might not be adjusted as good as it should be for one reason or another. See if I can get it to set for you. Alright, so like that. That's how you're going to set it. It's a push-pull trigger, so either way, if they push down just a little bit or they pull just a little bit, it'll be just fine. Anyhow, that's about all I got for now. I hope that you've enjoyed my review, and I hope it comes in handy for somebody down the way. Leave some comments, questions if you got them, like our YouTube channel if you want to see more. Thank you very much.